Imagine a world where your honesty is quantified and displayed for all to see. Your public honesty score, they call it. It's based on an algorithm that tracks your word choices, facial expressions, even your heart rate. The higher your score, the more trustworthy you are deemed. But here's the catch: it's public, everyone can see it. In this world, your honesty score determines your fate. It influences who you meet, where you live, even whether you get hired. The question is, how accurate is this score, and does it even matter? At first, it seems like a harmless way to add some transparency to our interactions. After all, who doesn't want to know how honest someone is? But as we dig deeper, we uncover a system that's not just flawed, it's downright terrifying. From fake news to political polarization, it seems like our society is falling apart. But what if there was a way to measure truth? A way to quantify honesty and make it visible to all? That's the premise of a new and fascinating book. And it's one that couldn't be more timely. We all like to think of ourselves as good, honest people. But what if there was a way to measure how good, honest, and reliable you are as a person? And what if that score determined your access to loans, to jobs, to housing, even to food? Welcome to the future of Black Mirror. Now, before we explore this hypothetical future, let's talk about the present. Because the truth is we're already living in a world of public reputation scores. Just not quite as comprehensive as our honesty score scenario. Every time you rate an Uber driver, leave a review on Airbnb, or get feedback on eBay, you're participating in what researchers call reputation systems, and these systems actually work pretty well at encouraging good behavior. When people know they're being rated, they tend to be more honest, more reliable, and more cooperative. But here's where it gets interesting. China has been experimenting with something much more ambitious: the social credit system. Now, contrary to what you might have heard, it's not exactly a single Black Mirror-style score that follows every citizen around. As reported by multiple sources, including the China Briefing and academic analyses, it's actually a complex network of different scoring systems that track everything from financial behavior to social compliance. The goal is to create what Chinese officials call a trustworthy society by rewarding good behavior and punishing bad behavior. Pay your bills on time, help elderly people cross the street, follow traffic laws. Your score goes up. But commit fraud, jaywalk repeatedly, or spread what the government calls false information online. Your score goes down, and the consequences are real. People with low scores in China have been blocked from buying plane tickets, their children denied admission to certain schools, and some have even been publicly shamed on billboards for everyone to see. This is not a dystopian novel. This is happening in China right now. According to Human Rights Watch reports, millions of Chinese citizens have faced these restrictions. We live in an age of public shaming and cancel culture. So what if there was a way to publicly shame people into being more honest? Enter the honesty score. This is a score that ranks your honesty in real time based on how truthful you are in everyday interactions. But does shaming people for being dishonest actually make them more honest? To answer that question, we need to go back to the 18th century. In 1791, a philosopher named Jeremy Bentham designed a prison called the Panopticon. The Panopticon had a central tower from which guards could watch all the prisoners, but the prisoners couldn't see the guards. What's the result? People under constant surveillance change their behavior. They start policing themselves. Now imagine that surveillance applied to honesty. When people know they're being scored on honesty, they become less anxious about looking dishonest. Instead, they carefully curate their public image to make sure they always look honest. So the real question is, does the honesty score actually make people more honest or just more performatively honest? Let's talk about money, because if public honesty scores became real, they would change everything. Employers would use them to decide who to hire. Banks would use them to decide who to lend money to. Landlords would use them to decide who to rent an apartment to. Insurance companies would use them to decide who to charge higher premiums to. and dating apps would use them to tell you how honest you are. Now, this might sound like a good idea to some of you. After all, research from the World Bank on governance and corruption suggests that transparency and accountability measures can reduce fraud and increase trust in institutions. A public honesty score could make business transactions safer and more reliable, but here's the problem. According to researchers Solomon Barocas and Andrew Selbst, in their influential work on algorithmic discrimination, any scoring system risks creating or amplifying existing inequalities. Once your score drops, it becomes harder to get a job, housing, or credit, creating a vicious cycle. So let's imagine a world where a single moment of poor judgment, a false accusation, or even a technical error could lock you out of economic opportunities for years. Your past mistakes would be on display for everyone to see. The economist would call this efficiency. The ethicist might call it a digital caste system. Should morality be quantified? Well, that depends on how you define morality. If you're a consequentialist, then anything that reduces fraud, increases trust, and decreases lies is morally justified. But others, like the philosopher Immanuel Kant, argue that morality is about more than just the consequences. It's about your intentions. Are you being honest because you want to be, not because you're afraid of a penalty? Well, according to Alasdair MacIntyre, reducing morality to a number is misguided. In his book After Virtue, he argues that honesty, for example, is more than just telling the truth. It's about being compassionate, showing wisdom, being discreet, even being a little bit self-interested. He says that we should look to Aristotle and the virtue ethicists who came after him, who saw honesty not as a simple binary, but as a complex, nuanced quality that grows and develops over time. So the next time you're tempted to judge someone's morality, ask yourself, are they being honest with themselves and others, or are they just trying to game the system? If you want to see where this could all lead, just watch the Nosedive episode of Black Mirror. In that world, everyone rates everyone else, and your social score determines everything from where you can live to who will be your friend. The episode shows how quickly a rating-based society can become a nightmare of fake smiles, performed authenticity, and social anxiety. People become so focused on maintaining their scores that they lose their humanity. But it's not just science fiction. Author Cory Doctorow, in works like Little Brother, explores how surveillance and reputation systems can be weaponized for political control. When governments can track and score citizens' behavior, it becomes very easy to suppress dissent and punish anyone who doesn't conform. And according to reports from MIT Media Lab, we're already seeing the development of blockchain-based reputation systems that could make Black Mirror scenarios more realistic than ever before. The technology for comprehensive behavioral tracking and scoring is advancing rapidly. And once such a system is in place, it becomes very difficult to remove. People become dependent on it, institutions build around it, and anyone who suggests getting rid of it faces the question, what do you have to hide? Let's return to China's social credit system for a moment. While it's not as dystopian as sometimes portrayed in Western media, Human Rights Watch reports document real concerns about how it's being used. The system has been used to track and suppress ethnic minorities, particularly in regions like Xinjiang. It's been used to punish journalists and activists and anyone who criticizes the government. What started as a system to promote trustworthiness has become a tool for political control. And that's the fundamental risk. With any comprehensive behavioral scoring system, it will be used by those in power to maintain power. Even with the best intentions, such systems create infrastructure for oppression. As French philosopher Michel Foucault warned, when the state can monitor and judge every aspect of your behavior, you're no longer truly free. Even if you're not technically in prison, you're living in a panopticon. Are we heading for a brave new world where public honesty scores are used to grade people on their trustworthiness? The idea has its pros and cons. On the one hand, it could help prevent fraud and build trust. On the other hand, it could be used to control and punish people for being dishonest. So where does this leave us? Are public honesty scores inevitably dystopian? Well, not necessarily. A limited system focused on preventing fraud, like in professional licensing or financial services, might actually be a good thing. But a comprehensive system that tracks every aspect of personal honesty and makes it public would be much more harmful. According to research by sociologist Robert Putnam in his book Bowling Alone, social trust has been declining in many societies. So some form of reputation system might help rebuild that trust. But it would need to be carefully designed to avoid the pitfalls we've discussed. Who controls the system? How is honesty defined and measured? What are the consequences of low scores? Can people improve their scores? Are there appeals processes? How do we prevent discrimination and protect privacy? These aren't just technical questions. They're fundamental questions about the kind of society we want to live in. So here's what I want you to think about. We're already living in a world of reputation scores and behavioral tracking. The question isn't whether these systems will exist, they already do. The question is how comprehensive they'll become and who will control them. Will we sleepwalk into a world where every aspect of our humanity is quantified and judged? And how do we balance the desire for honesty with the need for privacy and human complexity? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one, and I'm genuinely curious about your thoughts on this. If you found this video thought-provoking, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into the questions that shape our future. And remember, in a world that's increasingly measuring everything, sometimes the most important things can't be measured at all.